Chapter 17. The Success of Tom's Plan. But there was no joy in the little town that same afternoon. The village was more quiet than usual. The people had little to say to each other. The children had no pleasure in their games. Becky Thatcher was walking near the school. She thought,
"Oh, I wish I had not returned to Tom that bright, shining ball he gave me. I have nothing to help me remember him. He's gone now, and I shall never, ever see him again."
She walked away with tears rolling down her face. Then a large group of boys and girls, friends of Tom and Joe, came to the school and stood looking over the fence into the yard where they had played together. They spoke of things Tom and Joe had said, and of things Tom and Joe had done. They tried to learn who was the last to see the two boys. The children who were the last to talk with Tom and Joe felt very important indeed. One boy, who also wished to feel important, said, "I had a fight with Tom Sawyer, and he was stronger than I was." But most of the boys could say that. The next morning the church bell did not stop as it usually did after calling the people to church. It continued to ring. The people from the village gathered. Outside the church they talked, but in the church all was very quiet. The little church was filled with people. After a long time Aunt Polly entered, followed by Sid and Mary, and by the Harper family. All were wearing black clothes. The other people in the church stood up. They remained standing while the two families walked to the front of the church and sat down. It was quiet again. All prayed, and then a song followed. Now the church leader began to talk of the boys. He told how good they had been. People were sorry to remember that they had not seen the truth earlier when they had thought that these boys were bad. Tears were falling from all eyes. The sound of the church door opening slowly was heard. One pair of eyes, and then another, turned to look. Then all in the church seemed to turn at the same time, and people rose and watched while the three dead boys walked to the front of the church. Tom was first, Joe next, and last came Huck. They had been listening to every word. Aunt Polly, Mary, and the Harpers put their arms around Tom and Joe. Huck stood alone, not knowing what to do. He started to move away, but Tom stopped him and said,
"Aunt Polly, this is not right. Some person must be glad to see Huck, and some person shall be. I am glad to see him, dear boy."
She put her arms around him also, and now Huck felt more strange than before.
"Sing, and sing your best!"
cried the church leader. And all the people did sing. There had never been such singing in that church. Tom Sawyer, the pirate, knew that no moment in his life could be prouder than this. Chapter 18. Tom's Wonderful Dream. That was Tom's great plan, to return home with the other pirates and go to the church to hear the people pray for their souls. They had returned across the river in the darkness the night before, and had stayed in the forest until nearly daylight. They had entered the church and finished their sleep there before the people came. Then they appeared at the most important moment. The next morning, Aunt Polly and Mary were very loving toward Tom. He had everything he wanted to eat. There was much more talk than usual. Aunt Polly spoke.
"We can laugh now, Tom, but you were not very kind to let me suffer. You came across the river to surprise us in church. Why could you not come across the river to tell me that you were not really dead?"
"Yes, you could have done that, Tom," said Mary. "I believe you would have done it if you'd thought of it."
"Would you, Tom?"
said Aunt Polly. Her face was brighter at this thought.
"Would you, if you thought of it? I hope you love me enough to do it. Did you think of it?"
"Tom is always rushing," Mary said. "He never thinks."
"Sid would have thought, and Sid would have come. Tom, someday you'll be sorry. You will wish that you had cared more for me, but then it will be too late." "I do care for you,"
said Tom.
"I wish that I had thought, but I dreamed about you." "A cat does as much as that. What did you dream?" "I dreamed that I saw you sitting there by the bed. Sid and Mary were sitting with you. I dreamed that Joe Harper's mother was here." "Indeed she was one night. Did you dream any more?" "Yes, but I can't remember all of it." "Try, Tom. Try to remember." "You said that the door must be open because you could feel the wind coming in. You said that was strange. And you told Sid—" "What did I tell Sid, Tom?" "You told him— you told him to close the door. And you were talking about me. I remember better now. You said that I was not bad. You said that I was only wild and full of life like any young animal. I never heard anything like this in all my life. And some people say that dreams are never true. Tell me more, Tom." And then you began to weep. "Yes, I did. I did." Then Mrs. Harper began to weep. She said that Joe was good also. And then you told all about my giving the painkiller to the cat. And then there was a lot of talk about finding our bodies and about praying in the church on Sunday. It is all true. And Mrs. Harper went home, and you prayed for me, and I could see you and hear every word. And you went to bed, and I was very sorry for you. And I had a letter for you. It was on a piece of wood. On the wood were the words, "We are not dead. We are away being pirates." I kissed you on the lips and went away again. Did you, Tom? Did you?
She took him in her arms.
"It was very kind, but it was only a dream,"
said Sid.
"Be quiet, Sid. And Tom, here's a big apple for you. And now, you children go to school."
Tom walked slowly and proudly, feeling that all eyes were watching him. Smaller boys followed him, proud to be seen with him. Boys of his own size tried not to show that they knew he had been away. But they did know. They wished that they had sun-browned skin like his. They wished that they were as famous. Tom decided that he no longer was interested in Becky Thatcher. Being famous was enough pleasure for him. When Becky arrived at school, Tom seemed not to see her. But he saw her playing with other boys and girls. He saw that she often came near him and looked at him, and he began talking to Amy Lawrence. Becky tried to go away from him, but her feet would not do as she wished. They carried her near the group around Tom. She said to one of the girls,
"Mary, where were you yesterday? I wanted to tell you about the picnic."
"Oh, whose picnic?"
"My mother is going to let me have one. I hope that she will let me come. It will be my picnic, and I may ask those that I want. I want you and all my friends to come."
She looked at Tom, but he was talking to Amy Lawrence. Now the others in the group began asking if they could go to the picnic. Soon all had asked except Tom and Amy. Tom turned away. Becky's legs were shaking and tears came to her eyes. She would not let the others see her sadness. She went away alone to think of what to do. When Tom saw her again, she and a boy named Alfred Temple were sitting together, looking at a book. Now Tom suddenly wanted to stop talking to Amy. He escaped from her and went to look again at Becky and Alfred Temple. And Becky seemed not to see Tom, but she saw him, and she saw that he was suffering, and she was glad.
That Alfred Temple,
Tom thought.
Alfred Temple in his fine clothes. I will catch you. I will take you. And
he began hitting the air as if he were fighting with the other boy. At noon, Tom went home. Becky again looked at the book with Alfred, hoping that Tom would see them. But Tom did not appear. Suddenly she began to weep. She left Alfred and walked away. Alfred followed, hoping to find some way to make her happy again, but she said,
"Go away. I never want to see you again."
Alfred was quick to understand. Becky had been trying to make Tom suffer. Alfred went into the school. He saw one of Tom's books and thought how he could hurt Tom. He opened the book to the page they were to study that afternoon. He destroyed the page in a manner that would make it seem that Tom had done it. Becky, looking in the window, saw him do it. She thought of telling Tom. Then she decided that she would not. She would let the school teacher beat Tom for what had happened to his book. Chapter 19. Tom Tells the Truth. Tom arrived at home feeling very sad, and his aunt's first words made him feel no better.
"Tom, I ought to beat you. Aunt Polly, what have I done? I went to see Mrs. Harper to tell her about your dream. Joe had already told her that you were here that night. Tom, I do not know what to think of a boy like you. I believed your story of your dream. I expected her to believe it. Why did you let me be such a fool? Aunt Polly, I wish I had not done it. I did not think." "Oh, child, you never think. You never think of anything but yourself. You could think of enough to come here and laugh at our troubles. You could think to tell that story of a dream, but you could not think to save us from suffering. Aunt Polly, I know that it was bad, but I did not plan to be bad. And I did not come here that night to laugh at you. I came to tell you that we were not drowned. I did not want you to be sad. Tom, I would be thankful to believe that, but I doubt that you had such a thought." "Yes, I did. I did. It is the truth. I wanted to save you from being sad." "Then why did you not tell me, child? You began talking of Sunday and all the people praying for us in the church, and I began thinking about going there on Sunday. And I put my letter in my pocket and went away." "What letter?" "The letter to tell you that we were pirates. I wish now that you had opened your eyes when I kissed you." "Did you kiss me, Tom? Are you sure?" "Yes, I did, Aunt." "Why did you kiss me?" "Because I loved you, and you were weeping in your sleep, and I was sorry."
The words sounded like the truth. The old lady said,
"Kiss me again, Tom, and then go to school."
When he was gone, she looked at his little coat. In the pocket she found his piece of wood with the writing on it. She read the words with tears falling from her eyes. Then she said,
"Now, I could forget anything bad that boy does. I could forget 1,000,000 bad things."
Chapter 20. Becky Has a Problem. Tom was happy again. He started walking to school and soon saw Becky Thatcher also going toward the school. Quickly he ran to her and said,
I'm sorry I acted as I did this morning, Becky. I won't ever be like that again. Please let us be friends."
The girl stopped and looked into his face.
"Go away, Mr. Thomas Sawyer. I will never speak to you again."
Then she started walking again. Tom was so surprised that he could think of nothing to say. And he was filled with anger. If she were a boy, he knew that he would fight her. Becky was also full of anger. She was thinking of the pleasure of watching the teacher beat Tom for destroying a page in his book. She did not know that she would soon have trouble also. The teacher had a book that he was studying. Every day he would read some pages when he was not busy. Every boy and girl in the school wondered about this book, but none had ever seen its pages. Now, as Becky passed the teacher's table, she saw the book. She opened it and began to look at it. Then Tom appeared at the door. Becky hurried to close the book. Her hand caught the page, and suddenly it was in two pieces. Becky began to weep.
"You were bad, Tom Sawyer, to come and watch me. And now you will tell the teacher, and he will beat me. And what shall I do? I have never been beaten in school. But I know what is going to happen to you. You wait, and you will see."
Then, weeping, she ran outside. Tom said to himself,
"What a fool a girl is. What is a beating in school? That is nothing, and I will not tell who opened the book. The teacher will ask who did it. He will call each name, and when he says the right one, he won't need an answer. He'll see the answer in her face."
School began, and soon Tom's book was discovered. He said that he had not destroyed the page, but the teacher did not believe him. Tom had his beating. Becky watched, trying to feel happy about this. But she almost stood up to tell the truth about Alfred Temple. An hour passed. The boys and girls were all busy with their books. The teacher opened his book. Tom looked at Becky. He had seen small and hunted animals in the forest. Now Becky seemed like one of them. He wished that he could help her, but what could he do? The next moment the teacher stood before the school. Every eye turned away from his. All the boys and girls were afraid of him. He spoke.
"Who did this to my book?"
There was not a sound.
"Benjamin Rogers?"
"No."
"Joe Harper?"
"No."
"Amy Lawrence?"
"No."
"Gracie Miller?"
"No."
The next name was Becky Thatcher. Tom was shaking from head to foot. He saw her face, white with fear.
"Rebecca Thatcher, look at me. Did you do this to my book?"
Tom jumped to his feet and shouted,
"I did it."
All looked at him. They could not believe what they had heard. This was madness. Tom stepped forward to take his beating. The surprise, the thankfulness, the love shining from Becky's eyes seemed pay enough for 100 beatings. Chapter 21. Old Muff's Friend. Summer had come. For several months there would be no school. Tom discovered that the days were too long. He did not have enough to do. He decided to make a record of everything that happened. But nothing happened during 3 days. He decided that a record would be of no value. Becky Thatcher had gone away. During the summer she was living in another town with her father and her mother. The thought of the fearful killing in the graveyard was always in Tom's mind. It was like a pain that would not go away. Then Tom became sick. For 2 long weeks Tom remained in bed without knowing what was happening in the village. He was very ill. He was interested in nothing. Then he seemed to be better, but after a day, he was ill again. He was in bed for 3 more weeks. In the warm, sleepy village, something began to happen. A judge was coming to listen to the story of the killing in the graveyard. He would decide what to do about Muff Potter. Every person in the village talked of this. Tom could not escape from it. Every word made his heart beat faster. He was always afraid when people talked to him about it. He took Huck to a lonely place. He wanted to be sure that Huck had not told the story.
Huck, have you told about that?
About what?
You know what.
Oh, no, I have not.
Never a word?
Never a word.
Why do you ask? I was afraid.
Tom Sawyer, we would not live 2 days if that story was told. You know that.
Huck, could any person make you tell?
If I wanted that Indian Joe to drown me, they could make me tell.
Good. I think that we are safe if we do not talk, but we should make another agreement. It'll be more sure.
They made another agreement, as before, signed in blood.
What is the talk that you hear, Huck?
Talk? It is all Muff Potter, Muff Potter, Muff Potter. It makes me want to go where no one can see me.
I hear the same talk. They're going to hang him. Do you feel sorry for him sometimes?
Almost always. Almost always. He has never done anything to hurt any person. He only fishes to get some money so that he can get drunk. He is really good. Once he gave me a fish when he really did not have enough for himself. And he helped me at other times when I needed help.
He helped me also, Huck. He helped me to catch fish. I wish that I could get him out of jail.
We can't get him out, Tom. And if we did, well, they would catch him again.
Yes, but I do not like to hear what they say, for he never did that.
And I do not like it either, Tom. The boys talked for a long time, but it did not make them happy. As night came, they were near the little jail. Perhaps they hoped that something good might happen. But nothing happened. They went to the window and gave Potter some tobacco. They had done this before. He was always very thankful for their gifts, and his thanks always hurt them. This time the hurt went deeper when Potter said,
You've been good to me, boys, better than the others in this town, and I won't forget. I won't. Often I say to myself, I was good to all the boys. I showed them where the good fishing was. I was their friend when I could be a friend. And now they forget old Muff and his trouble. But Tom does not forget, and Huck does not. They do not forget him, I say, and I won't forget them. But, boys, I did a fearful thing. I was drunk. That is the only way that I can explain it. Now I must hang for it, and that is right. It is best also. I hope that it is. But we won't talk about that. I won't make you feel sad. You've been my friends. But what I want to say is this. Never get drunk. Then you won't ever be where I am now. Stand where I can see you. It is a pleasure to see friendly faces when a man is in trouble like this. You're the only ones who come here. Good, friendly faces. Good, friendly faces. Now stand on each other's shoulders and let me touch your faces. Good. Let me touch your hands also. Little hands and weak, but they could have helped Muff Potter, and they would help him more if they could.
Tom went home feeling very, very sad. His dreams that night were full of fearful things. During the next 2 days, he went to the town meeting house. The judge was there listening to the story of the killing. Tom wished to go into the meeting house to hear what was happening, but he forced himself to stay outside. Huck was having the same experience. They were careful not to meet each other. They would go away from the meeting house, but soon they would return. Tom listened when people came out. The news was always bad. At the end of the second day, people said that Indian Joe's story never changed. There was no doubt what the judge would decide. Tom was out late that night, and he entered the house through the window. He could not sleep for several hours. All the people in the village went to the meeting house the next morning. This was to be the important day. Potter, who appeared to have no hope, was brought in. All eyes were turned to him, and Indian Joe was there too. Then the judge arrived. Now a man was asked to tell what he knew about the killing. He said that he had found Muff Potter washing his hands in a stream. It was very early on the morning after the killing. Another man was asked to tell his story. He told about finding a knife near the doctor's body. Then a second man spoke about the knife. He knew that it belonged to Potter. A man who had studied law sat beside Muff Potter. He was there to help Potter. But he asked no questions as these men told their stories. It seemed strange. Was he not trying to prove that Potter had not killed the doctor? More men told their stories, and the man beside Potter asked them no questions. After a while, all the stories against Potter had been told. Then the man beside Potter stood up. He spoke to the judge. "Your Honor, we plan to prove that Muff Potter was drunk that night. We plan to prove that he did not know what he was doing. But we have changed our plans. We wish to ask Thomas Sawyer some questions." Surprise appeared on every face, including Potter's. Every eye was watching Tom. He stood up and walked forward. He looked very wild because he was deeply afraid. The questions began. "Thomas Sawyer, where were you on the night of the killing at about the hour of 12? Tom looked at Indian Joe. He could not speak. The people listened, but the words did not come. After a few minutes, however, the boy had more strength. Some of the people could hear as he said, "In the graveyard." "Louder, please. Do not be afraid. You were?" "In the graveyard." A cold smile appeared on Indian Joe's face. Then it was gone. "Were you near Hoss Williams' grave?" "Yes." "Louder, please. How near were you?" "As near as I am to you." "Could you be seen?" "No. I was behind the trees at the edge of the grave." "Was another person with you?" "Yes. I went there with—" "That is enough. We will call him when we need him." "Did you carry something there?" Tom did not answer. "Speak, my boy. The truth is always honorable. What did you carry there?" "Only a dead cat." There was a little laughing. The judge ordered it to stop. "We plan to show the bones of that cat. Now, my boy, tell us everything that happened. Tell it as you wish, but tell it all, and do not be afraid." Tom began slowly. Then his words came more and more easily. Every eye looked at him. With open lips, the people listened to his words, forgetting everything but his story. Now he came to the end. Interest became greater and greater. "And as the doctor hit Muff Potter with the board, and Muff Potter fell,
Indian Joe jumped with the knife and—
Indian Joe jumped toward a window, striking all who tried to hold him. In a moment, he was gone. Chapter 22. Days of Delight and Nights of Fear. Tom was famous once again. The old people loved him, and the young people wished that they were like him. His name appeared in the village newspaper. There were people who believed that he might someday become President of the United States, if he escaped hanging. Now all were kind to Muff Potter, forgetting that they had not been kind before. Tom's days were days of joy, but his nights were filled with fear. Indian Joe was in all his dreams. Poor Huck felt the same. His name had not been called in the meeting house. Because Indian Joe had run away, Huck's story was not needed. But Huck was afraid that his part in the story might be told. Huck no longer trusted any human being, because Tom had broken their agreement. Every day Muff Potter's thanks made Tom glad that he had told his story. Every night he wished that he had not opened his mouth. Sometimes Tom was afraid that Indian Joe would never be caught. At other times he was afraid that Indian Joe would be caught. He felt sure that he could never be safe again until Indian Joe was dead and he had seen the dead body. Indian Joe had not been found. The slow days passed. With each day, Tom became a little less afraid. Chapter 23. Dead People and Spirits. There comes a time in every boy's life when he wants to hunt for gold and silver that pirates have put deep in the earth. This desire suddenly came to Tom. He tried to find Joe Harper, but failed. He tried to find Ben Rogers, but Ben had gone fishing. Then he met Huck Finn. Tom took him to a place where they could be alone, and he explained. Huck agreed. Huck always agreed to do anything that would require time, but not money. He had no money, but much time.
"Where?"
said Huck.
"Almost anywhere."
"Do you mean that there's money in the ground everywhere?"
"No, it is in very special places, Huck. Sometimes on islands, sometimes in old boxes under the end of a dead branch of an old tree, but mostly under the floor in a house where the spirits of the dead gather."
"Who puts it there?"
"People who take it away from other people."
"Why do they put it in the ground? If I were rich, I'd spend the money and enjoy it."
"I would too, but these people are different."
"Do they never return to get it?"
"Nope. They think that they will, but they forget where it is, or they die."
"How are you going to find it, Tom?
"Where will you look? We tried hunting for gold on the island when we was pirates. I know where there's a house full of spirits, and there are old trees with dead branches everywhere."
"Is there gold and silver under every dead branch?"
"No, that would not be possible."
"How do you know which one to choose?"
"Choose all of them."
"Tom, we shall be working all summer."
"What is wrong with that? We might find $100 or valuable stones like diamonds. How'd you like that?"
Huck's eyes were shining. "Give me the $100 and you can have the valuable stones like diamonds."
"Have you ever seen a diamond, Huck?"
"I do not remember that I have."
"Kings have diamonds, and I've heard that some of them are worth $1 or more. Kings have hundreds of them."
"I do not know any kings, Tom."
"If you go to Europe, you'll see them jumping around."
"Do they jump?"
"Jump? No."
"Why did you say that they jumped?"
"Oh, I mean that you will see kings everywhere. Not jumping. Why should they jump? But you will see many of them."
The boys got some gardening things used for making holes in the earth. Then they walked 3 miles to an old tree with a single dead branch. They were very hot, and they sat in the shade of another tree to rest and smoke. Tom said,
"Huck, if we find some money, what will you do with it?"
"Spend it before my father takes it and spends it. What will you do with yours?"
"I will get married."
"Married? Tom, you would be a fool. Think of my father and mother. Fight. They were fighting all the time, I remember."
"The girl I marry won't fight."
"Tom, they're all the same.
"Who is she?" "I won't tell you now."
"If you marry, I will be more lonely than I am now."
"No, you won't. You will come to live with me. Now, we must start working."
They worked for half an hour. They found no box of money in the hole that they were making. They worked for another half hour. Then Huck said, "Is the money always so deep in the ground?"
"Not always. Perhaps this is not the right place."
They began on the other side of the tree. They worked without talking for a while. Then Huck stopped to dry his face and said, "Where do we try next?"
"There's an old tree on Cardiff Hill behind Miss Douglas's house."
"That might be a good place. But won't she take the money away from us? It is her land."
"If you find money in the ground, it belongs to you. It does not belong to the owner of the land."
That was fine. The work continued. After a while, Tom said,
"We must be in the wrong place again." "Oh, I understand. What a fool I was. We must know where the shade of the dead branch is under the light of the moon in the middle of the night. That is where we must hunt for the money."
The boys stopped work and returned to the tree that night. It was a lonely place. They talked little. When they felt that the right hour had come, they found the shade in the moonlight under the branch and began to work. Their interest was strong. They worked fast. The hole grew deeper and deeper. But every time they found something hard in the earth, it was only a rock. After a while, Tom said,
"Huck, we are wrong again."
"We can't be wrong. We saw the shade of the branch."
"But perhaps the time was not right. We guessed. We did not know."
"We should stop trying," Huck said. "We never know the right time, and I do not like the middle of the night with spirits of dead men around. I feel that there is one behind me all the time, and I'm afraid to turn."
"I feel the same, Huck, and they almost always put a dead man in the hole to guard the gold and silver."
"They do?"
"Yes, they do. I've always heard that."
"Tom, I do not like to be where there are dead people. They will certainly cause trouble for us."
"And I do not like it. Suppose this one should lift his head. He's only bones now. Suppose his bones should speak to us."
"Stop that talk, Tom. That is a fearful idea."
"Huck, I do not like this place. We can try another."
"Where?"
"The old house where the spirits gather."
"Tom, I do not like spirits or their houses. Dead people may speak to us, perhaps, but they won't come quietly behind us as spirits do, and then suddenly make fearful noises."
"But, Huck, spirits travel only at night. We can go to the house in the day."
"That is true, but people never go near that house in the day or the night."
"That is because a man was killed there. But nothing is seen except in the night, and then only blue lights are seen."
"When you see those blue lights, Tom, you know that spirits are near, because only spirits use them. I agree to go to the house if you want to, but I do not think that it is safe." Chapter 24. Sleeping Spirits, a Box Full of Gold. On Saturday, soon after noon, the boys met at the dead tree. They smoked and talked in the shade. Then they worked a little at their last hole. They had no great hope, but Tom said that people sometimes stopped working when they had almost found the box of gold. Then another person came and with very little work discovered it. However, they failed to find anything, but they felt that they had done everything that was possible. When they arrived at the old house, they were first afraid to go in. It was completely quiet there under the hot sun, and very lonely. Then they went without any noise to the door and looked in, shaking with fear. They saw a room with an earthen floor. There was a place where a fire had been built, windows without glass, and dust was everywhere. They entered. They did not dare to speak. Their ears were ready to hear any small sound. Their legs were ready to carry them quickly outside again. Soon their fear became less. They looked around with interest. Then they wanted to look at the room above. They found nothing up there and were starting to go down when—
"Be quiet!"
Tom's voice was shaking.
"What is it?"
Huck asked, becoming white with fear.
"There! Hear it?"
"Yes, we must run."
"We can't move. They're coming toward the door."
The boys were on the floor, looking down into the room below through holes, sick with fear, waiting. 2 men entered. Both boys had seen one of the men in the village. He seemed to be very old. He had long white hair hanging around his shoulders and much white hair growing on his face. It seemed to the village people sad that he could neither hear nor speak. The other man was a stranger. He was wearing very old clothes. His face was not pleasant. He was talking as they entered. The 2 men sat on the ground with their backs against the wall.
"No," said the other man. "I've been thinking about it. I do not like it. They will catch us."
"You fool," said the man who was believed not to be able to hear or speak. "You are afraid." The boys were now shaking with fear. This man was Indian Joe. Joe said, "We were not caught before."
"But that was different."
"They may catch us here in this house," Joe said. "I wanted to leave here yesterday, but those boys were playing on Cardiff Hill. They would have seen us." Those boys were Tom and Huck. They were shaking again. What would have happened to them yesterday if they had come to this house? They wished that they had waited a year before coming. The 2 men had brought some food, and they began to eat. After a while, Joe said, "When it is dark, go home. Wait there until you hear from me. I will go into the village once again. Then we will do the job we planned. And then we will run far away. Now, I need sleep. You stay here as a guard." He was soon asleep, and then the guard, too, was soon sleeping. The boys took a long, thankful breath. Tom said,
"Now's our chance. Come."
Huck said,
"I can't. I would die if they opened their eyes."
He would not move, and Tom started to leave alone. But the old floor made so much noise that he stopped, almost dead with fear. Slowly time passed until the sun was going down. Indian Joe sat up and called the other. He said, "It is almost time for us to be moving. What shall we do with our money? Shall we leave it here until we're ready to run? 600 silver dollars is heavy to carry. We can put it in the ground, deep." His friend agreed. He went to the place where the fire had been built, raised one of the big stones from the earthen floor, and took out a big bag of money. The boys began to forget their fears. $600 would make 6 boys rich, and they knew where Indian Joe was putting it. Indian Joe was in a corner making a hole in the ground with his knife. The boys did not dare to speak, but they looked at each other often. These looks were easy to understand. Their meaning was, "Oh, how glad we are now to be here." They heard Indian Joe's knife strike something hard. "Look here," he said.
"What is it?"
asked his friend. "It is an old box," Joe said. "Help me lift it." "No, I have broken it open." He put his hand in the box and then brought it out again. "Man, this is money." The two looked at the handful of money. It was gold. Now the men found the gardening things that the boys had been using and had placed in another corner when they came into the house. Using them, they started to work. They soon had the box out of the earth. It was not large, but it had once been very strong, with iron bands to hold the wood together. "There are thousands of dollars here," said Indian Joe.
"Now it won't be necessary to do that job in the village,"
said the other. Indian Joe said, "You do not understand. I am not doing that job only for money. Wrong was done to me, and I am going to pay them for it. I need your help. Go home until I tell you to come."
"What do we do with this money? Put it in the ground again?"
"Yes." Delight for the boys above his head.
"No."
Deep sadness above. "Where did these gardening things come from? There was fresh earth on them. Who was here? We must take the money away. I have a good place for it. At the number 2 place, under the cross."
"It is nearly dark enough to go."
Indian Joe went from window to window, looking out. Then he said, "Who could have come here? Do you think they are in the room above us?" The boy's breath stopped. Indian Joe put his hand on his knife and started to go up. The boys could not move. Their strength was gone. They heard Joe coming. Then they heard the sound of breaking wood, and Joe fell to the ground.
"No people are up there,"
his friend said.
"They saw us coming and they ran. They thought that we were spirits or devils, and they are running yet."
Soon the two men went out of the house, with the box of gold and the bag of silver dollars. Tom and Huck watched them through the holes in the wall. But would the boys follow? No. They were happy enough to get away from the house with no broken bones, and then return to the town. They did not talk much. They decided to watch in the town for Indian Joe and then follow him to the number 2 place. Tom had a fearful thought.
Indian Joe said that he would pay wrong with wrong. Was he talking about us, Huck?
Feeling suddenly weak, Huck almost fell to the ground.